Hey guys, it's Barrett with the Gimpy Camper. Today we're here at Vogel State Park in Blairsville, Georgia. Vogel State Park is in the Chattahoochee National Forest. It's also at the base of Blood Mountain, which a lot of people are familiar with from the Appalachian Trail. Neal's Gap is just right up the road where a lot of people go. Maybe they decide to stop doing the AT, but they have a great hiking shop up there that a lot of people get better equipment. They were given some great advice on how to pack your bags and all that stuff. But a lot of people apparently call it quits right there and throw their shoes up in a tree, and we got some excellent footage of that. But we're here today to talk about Vogel. But there are a lot of great things in the area, so just so you know. Blairsville here at Vogel State Park, like I say, we're at the base of Blood Mountain. The state park's 233 acres. This is Trolita Lake. The spillway here then makes Trolita Falls, which you can see from the roadway on the way in. And we're on the Trolita Lake Trail, which is a 1 mile trail that goes all the way around the lake. It's very flat, it's gravel, it's not too bad of a hike, but look at this view. This park was voted by USA Today as one of America's best RV state parks. It was actually rated #1 on that list. And so we're here today to tell you why. This is also actually one of Georgia's oldest state parks. It's actually Georgia's second oldest state park. Question of the day for the quiz is, what is Georgia's oldest state park? I'm going to give you about 5 seconds and I'm going to put that right here. That park was opened in 1825 and this one was commissioned in the 1830s. Most of the work on the park, including the lake that was dammed and man-made here, was done by the Civil Corps of Engineers during the 1830s, about the same time and process as Cumberland Mountain State Park, which we recently visited in Tennessee. If you hadn't saw that video out, check that out. That's a really nice park as well. Trolita Lake here is 22 acres. It is open to kayaking and non-motorized boats. They apparently do rent paddle boats, I think kayaks, and I had read somewhere some bicycles, but that stuff's not available right now due to COVID. Some other amenities here at the park include a mini golf course, multiple outdoor playgrounds, creeks galore around this area for the kids to stomp around and play in the summertime, as well as a lot of picnic areas around those, as well as an outdoor fitness center. The outdoor fitness centers I'm pretty impressed with. Crooked River had one of those. You know, basically it looks like a playground until you get close up on it, and it's exercise equipment that uses your own body weight just to make exercising interesting and fun on your vacation here. The mini golf course looks pretty fun. My daughter's bugging me to go play that. We may do that here before we leave. If we do, I'm going to put some pictures of that here. But it looks to be a pretty well-rounded course that takes up quite a bit of real estate here right behind the visitor center. The current charge to play the mini golf is $5 a person plus tax. There are only 4 hiking trails here in the state park, but they have a wide range from the 1 mile leisurely loop here around the lake to the 13-mile hike that goes up one of these mountains on the Coosa Backcountry Trail. And looking at the map, the trail map, where it has the elevation changes, it looks to be quite the butt kicker. The campground here has 103 sites for camping with RVs and tents. And the campground's not really that large, but they do a wonderful job at spreading those sites out. Most of the sites here, now it's not all of them, but most of them are spread out to give you a little bit of privacy. Most of the RV sites are about 40 foot long, with the exception of one loop, which records their sites as being 25 foot long. And they actually have a sign at the beginning of that loop that says that it's mainly for pop-ups and tents and that the road is very narrow. Some of the sites here are pull-through sites. Just be careful by reserving a pull-through site and know that a lot of those sites are kind of tight getting in and out of, with the curves that you have to handle to get back on the road and such. There are also 18 walk-in tent sites here, as well as 35 cabins and cottages around the lake and the streams. Those vary on price, but they are beautiful around the lake, and especially the creeks that go through here. I mean, any site that you get on that's around one of these creeks, you're just going to sit out there and be in awe the whole time you're here. Now, about cell phone service at the park here, this is one area where it's just not that great. I did do some research on Campendium before I came. In Campendium, a lot of people rated the cell service as 2 bars on Verizon 4G LTE, but that ended up being false throughout most of the park. It is pretty patchy. Most of the park here, you're going to get 1 bar of 1X cell service that is good for almost nothing. Occasionally I can send and receive a text message as a text message, not through iMessage of course, but it's not too bad. As far as better service, there is 2 bars like around this lake area a lot of places, and there seems to be 2 bars in the campsites between 21 and 31. Now the caveat to that is a lot of those sites are smaller and some of them are more close together, but we'll get into that shortly. It is important to know about the roads here, and we're going to get into that in just a minute, but they do have a sign before you enter the campground that if you have like a Class A with a towed vehicle, they want you to disconnect your vehicle before you enter the campground. There is an area right there at that sign so traffic can get around you, but probably one of the better options is what I saw somebody else do, and that's to unhook while they were parked at the visitor center checking in. One of the reasons it's important to go ahead and unhook is that the roads are kind of convoluted here and they're hard to follow. There's a lot of kind of awkward angles, especially in the front part of the campground. So one of the most confusing parts for me, just as a bystander coming in here, is you're on a one-way road when you first go in, and you get to basically a 4-way stop. Now the sign basically says to get to most of the campsites, you're going to turn left. But if you look at it closer, it's mostly kind of catty corner like this instead of going left. Because if you turn left, you're only going to go through about 3 sites and then you're going to be at the exit again. So basically you're going straight even though it veers off to the left a little bit. A lot of these roads are hard to tell whether they're 1-way or 2-way traffic as well. Most of them are 2-way traffic, but there are 2 or 3 sections that are restricted to 1-way traffic. That being said, the roads that are 2-way traffic aren't very wide, and they can be a little difficult to navigate, and you got to go over a bridge or 2 with some turns, but it's not really that bad. The areas that are pretty bad in the campground are the turnarounds. So the turnarounds aren't very large at all, and so for this reason I urge you to do a little bit of research before you come here. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I stayed in site 38. 38 is a pull-through site, and we initially pulled in from the beginning of the campground. We're driving down the road and we pulled in. Now as we pulled in there, my front door and my awning was toward the road, and there's a couple of trees there, and behind my camper was the picnic table, the fire ring, and some rhododendron and a spring. But we couldn't get to that because it's behind the camper. I didn't like it, so I thought, this is a 2-way street, which I had to ask somebody because I wasn't sure, but I'm going to go down, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to come back. It actually looks like that's the way that it's meant to be used because the electrical post is also on that side with the road, making the roadside the back of your camper. So what we did is we pulled out, we went down to the end. I did pass an empty side or 2, and I thought, should I turn around here and just head back that way? I thought, no, I'll just go down. There'll have to be a turnaround down here at the end. So we drove up to the end of the loop there, and it was very tight. With my 29-foot fifth wheel, you know, I can make some pretty tight turns, but I only had about 6 inches to spare around a tree there, and I get done, and everybody's like, yay! So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to save you that trouble. And the 2 areas in the park that have the turnarounds that are really tight is right beside site 31 and right beside site 61. So just be careful about how far down the road you go. I'm going to give you some great ideas if you got a longer rig. Now we're going to get into site specifics in a minute, but this is just kind of general overview of the campground. I want to tell you that sites 1 through 15 are at the beginning of the campground. They're going to be the most crammed together. So you're not going to have as much privacy in these sites. And a lot of these angles, because there's quite a few roads that go in and out and turns, a lot of them are going to be at really poor angles. So even sites that are really nice sites, like site 11, because you are facing the creek on 11, and it's a beautiful site, but that's also a 1-way stretch of traffic right there. And just getting in and out of there is going to be a beast. I would not do it myself. Unless, I mean, it is a straight path there on the one-way road, and they might allow you to go the wrong way, because I mean, you go, if from the way that you're coming in that you're supposed to go, it's completely backwards as far as backing in. If you were faced the other way and came the wrong way down the street, it would be pretty easy to back in that site. Now, they advertise a lot of these sites as being 40 feet long, and quite a few of them are, but it's more about the maneuverability of your rig on the road and getting in and out of these sites that's the issue. So like I said before, I'm going to give you some ideas there, but just be careful when you're selecting these sites as far as how deep in a campground you go and if you're going to be able to turn around or not. I will say that the area at sites 22 through 31, those seem to be a little bit shorter, even though they're still advertised as 40-foot long sites. But there's two areas there that are kind of set up together in kind of a star pattern, and you're going to be a little bit closer to your neighbors in those sites than anywhere else. But you will have a little bit of cell signal. The loop that's really tight, where they actually warn you and say that they only recommend you go down if you have a pop-up or a tent, is areas 62 through 85, which is one-way traffic. I did see some regular campers up there, but they were shorter. A couple of them did have tandem axles, but I would say they were definitely 20 feet and less. All right, there's one more thing that I gotta say about this park. When you drive through here, it looks like there are hosts everywhere. I think there's more hosts in this park than I've ever seen in any other park, but they take great care of this place. A lot of them were really nice and friendly. I talked to quite a few of them. And on Sunday, when this place clears out, a lot of people left yesterday on Sunday. They're like a well-oiled machine. They go through, you see them raking the sites, you see them cleaning the bathrooms. Now, those bathrooms are some of the cleanest bathrooms that I've ever been in a campground. I'll tell you that. This might be one of Georgia's oldest state parks, but you cannot tell it by going in their bathrooms like you can at a lot of other places. Another thing that I was really impressed with is they have laundry here, and they don't just have laundry here, okay? A lot of places have, if they have laundry, they have one or two sets of machines in one location. I went in 3 different bathrooms, one at the visitor center, which is the nicest bathroom, by the way, one at the beginning of the campground at their main bathhouse, which does have all private bathrooms, and the bathroom across from site 46, which is closest to me. All three of those had 2 washers and dryers in them. Now, that's something special for people that spend a long time on the road and don't just go on the weekend like we do. Okay, now we're going to get into our site-specific recommendations. Our site-specific recommendations for this park is going to vary, and a lot of these sites are great. There's only a few that I'm going to put on here that I would avoid, and even if you have a shorter rig, they're probably still great sites, and I wouldn't discount them. But for my type of rig, that's what I'm kind of going with here, and I would just use caution just about the length of your rig here. The 2 that I'm going to tell you are the best sites if you have a longer rig here is sites 33 and 34. Both of these are right on the creek. 33 has more creek access there, but they're straight, they're back in, and they're very long, big rig friendly sites. You don't have to go anywhere else to turn around. You just got to go over a little bridge and make that turn going into that loop, and then you can back straight in those 2 sites. Those are great sites for longer rigs. Now, I will say, since we're right there already, site 32 is a pretty awesome site, but it's a little bit shorter, so you got to have a shorter rig to be right there, but it's right there along that creek access too, and it is a-okay. I also recommend site 39, which does have the creek flowing behind it. If you're 20 foot or under, I recommend site 58, as it's one of the best sites in the park. You could park a longer rig there, but it is tight on the road where you come in and out, and it's a decent incline over about 20 feet to the back part of the site there. Site 59 is also great for a shorter rig. I'm not sure a 30-foot rig would make it through the pull-through and then be able to turn around and get out the correct way on the road, or turn the other way and make it around the loop there. Now, depending on your comfort level and your maneuverability of your rig, you may be able to pull that one off, but I'm just saying use caution. Site 38 is where we stayed. It is a pretty tight pull through. There is a decent amount of space. If you pull through correctly, there is a ton of privacy with rhododendrons growing at the back of your site there, as well as some creek access, but it's about 20 feet from the site. Site 45 is a huge site that is also very wide. Due to the angle, you would have to be able to turn around and come back in the site, or it is so wide that a lot of rigs may be able to just back in through the width of the site and turn around and then park correctly, but you're going to have to turn around there somehow to back into that site. Site 37 is a nice private site as well. Site 21 probably has the best mix of privacy, size, and Verizon service with 2 bars of 4G LTE, but there is no creek access there. So if cell service is important for you and you have a decent sized rig, this might be the one you want to pick out. Site 49 is also a great site. So let's talk about the sites to avoid. Like I said, the list is pretty short here, but I'm going to give you a few. The first site I would avoid would be site 11. Unless you're going to go the wrong way down the street, this one's going to be almost impossible to get in and out of. We did have to wait on somebody that was trying to get in or out of the site there on our way out, and you can just tell that it's a bear to get in and out of. I actually talked to the people and they confirmed that they were moving to a different site because it was pretty hard to back in, but they were moving sites today and said they were going to change their site because it was such a beast. Besides the angle and the difficulty to back in, site 11 is one of the nicest sites in the park, and it's going to be up close to the playgrounds and the other amenities in the park, but it's just getting in there. Woo, doggy. Like I mentioned before, sites 1 through 15, I would really use caution if you're going to go in those sites, just because the roads are so convoluted with a lot of strange angles in and out of there. Just as an example, site 2 is a pull-through site, but it's right after a bridge, and the angle turning in and out of there, not a very long rig is going to be able to do that. It is one that I would put at the top of the list if you wanted to stay toward the beginning of the park and you had a shorter rig. But just anybody, I'm just going to say avoid it if it's 30 feet or longer. Site 20 is the one that I would also avoid if you had a longer rig. It's a decent site, but the only problem with it is right smack in the middle of the parking place is a tree. And so it's going to shorten your parking space availability there. So for that reason, I would say only use that site if you had a shorter rig as well. Site 57 is a beautiful site that would probably treat you well, but I have to say that it is a little bit of an incline backing up on the site, and there is a little bit of a curve there, and there's trees on both sides, so you have to be comfortable in your backing abilities to get in there. Basically all of those sites up there in those upper 50s, they're all really nice along the creek, but it's just about the maneuverability part of that. If you're able to get your rig in about anywhere, those sites are going to be for you. So guys, that's all I have for this week's adventure here at Vogel State Park in North Georgia. Thanks for joining us, and if you hadn't, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on our next adventure.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.